is it about love that makes our world go around and sometimes spins us around? Welcome to Truth Talk, Wisdom Walk with C.A. Curtis. I'm Carolyn. Ah, love. Hours passed with face-to-face enraptured gazing and heart-to-heart talks with dream-filled promises. With our first kiss, romance and Valentine's Day swirled together with barely restrained passion. Who would expect that from a widow and widower way past their prime, or not? That spark can hold our attention so nothing else will satisfy our desire to be close, to touch, to hear, to see and feel our beloved. But will the spark turn into a love that outlasts the flames of passion? That depends. And what does love mean when we love sports cars and chocolate, ice cream and winning the lottery? I love this or I love that. Lasts until the next love clamors for attention. People disappointed in relationships find safety in loving things or animals instead of people. Others confuse passion and lust for love and avoid the risk and crucible of committed love, which can transform body, soul, and spirit. So what is love? How can we tell the difference between real love and false promises? You know, like the fake Hollywood stuff we're drawn into that may confuse us about what real love is. And what would happen if we had learned and if we taught love education before sex education? Students in my high school English class were used to boring worksheet pablum. Those from my elementary resource room, so I had some students that I had had long ago, and those from that resource room had written stories and mastered reading poetry, yet here they were, years later, showing little to no progress. We began the year learning and defining a long list of character qualities. This led to exploring the qualities of love in ways that could spare many adolescents from a train wreck. What isn't love? I asked, making 2 columns. Students spoke up, using people, stealing, yelling, and lying, and the list grew. They knew from experience what was and wasn't love. The contrasting lists grew longer. One boy stood up and bragged about pursuing virgins as a way to avoid venereal disease. Disgust rippled through the room as his declaration warned the girls to protect themselves from such predators. "So you make them dirty?" I challenged, and it just came out of my mouth. When the dust settled, I introduced an historic love story. Elizabeth Barrett, born in 1806, lived her faith through illness, injury, and loss. Tutored and self-taught, she read the greatest works and learned to read the Bible in Hebrew. Hey, I'm still working on the alphabet. Even while confined as a grieving invalid, her words stood against the injustice and tyranny of her day, child labor and slavery, with her father and maternal grandmother profiting off the backs of slaves. She refused to be silenced and influenced laws against such inhumanity. Her poetry has far-reaching, still today, has just far-reaching effects. And at that time, impressed another poet, Robert Browning. 6 years younger than her, he wrote to her and began to visit, and soon expressed his great deep love for her At 39, she was reluctant, not wanting to burden him with her fragile health. She spent most of her time in her room. But his love won her heart. Their secret romance strengthened her enough to elope in spite of her father's orders that none of his children should ever marry. In a tragic display of family love gone wrong, he disinherited any who dared defy him, and he never forgave Elizabeth for leaving. During the Victorian courtship of Robert and Elizabeth, she wrote 44 love sonnets. My favorite is How Do I Love Thee? How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seemed to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. Elizabeth's beloved Robert Browning wrote a 32-stanza poem, and here are the first and last stanzas of Rabbi Ben Ezra. You may have heard this first phrase. Grow old with me, the best is yet to be, the last of life for which the first was made. Our times are in his hand, who saith, a whole I planned. Youth shows but half. Trust God, see all, nor be afraid. So take and use thy work, amend what flaws may lurk, what strain o' the stuff, what warpings past the aim. My times be in thy hand. Perfect the cup as planned. Let age approve of youth, and death complete the same. My class loved their passion, story, and poetry. To add depth and breadth, my students read and discussed 1 Corinthians 13. Written over 2,000 years ago, these words are often used even today at weddings. You may well remember, if I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong and a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. And if I give away all my possessions to charity, and if I surrender my body so that I may glory, but do not have love, it does me no good. Love is patient. Love is kind. It is not jealous. Love does not brag. It is not arrogant. It does not act disgracefully. It does not seek its own benefit. It is not provoked, does not keep an account of a wrong suffered. It does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. It keeps every confidence. It believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. But if there are gifts of prophecy, they will be done away with. If there are tongues, they will cease. If there is knowledge, it will be done away with. Actually, I kind of look forward to that. No more studying, everybody just walking in wisdom. Wow, that sounds amazing. There's a high standard for what is expected from love. Love is patient, kind, generous, forgiving, enduring, and unfailing. And love demonstrates the best character qualities. But how do we learn to love? How do we learn about love? We learned about it by who comforted you when you were a small child, frightened and hurting, and who was there for you when you just needed to know you were not alone, who saw you, who heard you, who loved you. To be seen and heard and loved is necessary for survival itself. It was a hard lesson learned during World War II, when babies were sent out of London to protect them from the bombings. London was being bombed by Germany. Away from their mothers and fathers, some babies died just because they weren't being held, seen, heard, and loved. They were being diapered and fed, but not held, seen, heard, and loved. It took researchers until the 1950s to come up with a theory that nurturing mothers and fathers knew by instinct, now known as attachment theory. It is basic to mental health. Being safe and connected is how we regulate our nervous system to keep us from spinning down to the abyss of fight, flight, or freeze, fawn, and appease. When we are not safe or connected with others, the ordinary challenges of life are overwhelming and loss is devastating. We are designed for connection with others, and we first learn to love, hopefully, in the arms of our mother. Her gentle touch and lullaby soothes our body and soul, while her absence is a great, devastating loss. Elizabeth Barrett, eldest of 12 children, was 8 when her 3-year-old sister died and 22 when her mother died. She knew the depth and the breadth of love and loss. She knew the love story behind St. Paul's letter to his friends in Corinth, teaching them to love by words and example. As a middle-aged spinster, she risked the wrath of her father by choosing love and marriage over pleasing him. The gift of life is too precious to waste on anything less than love from a pure heart. We rarely know how much time we have together. Held in her husband's arms, Elizabeth, having lived 55 years, crossed into eternity. Smiling, she said, "Beautiful. It is in the light of eternity that comfort comes to us for the journey beyond the shadow of death to heaven's embrace." What love story touches your heart and comforts your soul? See, hear, touch, and love those close to you. Love truth, be grateful, and do good. And thank you for joining this journey of Truth Talk, Wisdom Walk. The views expressed on Truth Talk, Wisdom Walk are presented for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only, because you are so important that you need your own people to walk through your difficulties with you. Thank you for joining me. Until we meet again.